mentor for the next 10 days of this workshop. Today we're going to start off with what exactly is social media marketing. But before we move ahead with social media marketing, I want you to imagine something. Imagine that you're possibly scrolling one of your favorite social media platforms, right? And you come across a very interesting post. Possibly that post made you wait and think about it, or possibly it might have entertained you, right? But there is some sort of emotion that it provoked in you, right? That is the beauty of social media marketing. And in this particular course, we're going to talk about that particular beauty and how that you are able to do that magic, right? So not just social media marketing, we're also going to look at some frameworks that is very important for you to measure your results, and also what are some reasons that people would like to follow you, right, or would like to follow your brand, or would like to interact with you, or what could possibly the reasons that they would like to distance from your brand, right? So that is what we'll be discussing further. And also, if I talk about social media marketing and if I talk about marketing in general, there are different kind of marketing that happens in the picture, right? It's not just about your traditional marketing, putting your ads on newspaper or radio. It's no longer that, right? There are a lot of terms, for example, surrogate marketing, moment marketing, right? So what exactly is that? That is what we'll be dwelling into. And also we'll be looking at some effective strategies to build up your social media marketing, right? So let's take it one by one. Let's just start with the basic definition of social media marketing. I know some of you might be having those myths and assumptions that is just pretty picture posting on social media, but exactly it's not the case, guys, right? So social media marketing is a very strategic use that you do of a social media platform. You do that to promote your brands, and you do that so that you can get connected with your audiences and you can achieve your business goals, right? So that is the very purpose of your social media marketing. And when I talk about social media marketing, there are essentially three components that comes into picture. First one is creation, right? Usually whenever we talk about social media, the first picture that pops into my mind is images and videos, right? So definitely a good amount of content creation is needed. So that is the thing. Then comes your audience engagement. Do you remember this ice bucket challenge that happened and it raised millions of the funds for charity, right? So that is what audience engagement is, right? So you have to come through a breakthrough idea to basically actually either promote your ideas or to actually promote your businesses, right? And third is advertising, right? So these three components are the very essential part of social media marketing. Now, if I move ahead with what is the importance of social media marketing in today's world, I think you guys already know it. Possibly, I think you might spend around 2.5 hours of an average time on social media, right? And there are 4.9 billion users of social media actively on 2024. Right? So there is a lot of potential, right? And our audience is on those platforms. So just why not go to those platforms to promote? Now, one of the very beauty about social media marketing is that everybody is equal there, right? So no matter how big of a brand you are, for example, you have a Nike, right? Or let's say Adidas, right? It doesn't give any care to that, right? What it cares about is what is the kind of content that you're creating. So if you're just a small bakery owner who just want to represent your bakery and just want to promote your bakery, that is something that it's going to give an equal play to, right? So that is something that we're going to be looking further into. Now, I told you, right, there are surrogate marketing, there are moment marketing, tropical marketing, right? There are different kinds of marketing. So we're going to delve into what exactly all those marketings are, and possibly you might have come across each and everything of it if you're scrolling on social media, right? Possibly you might just not be aware of the names, and I'm going to help you with the names, right? So if I talk about moment marketing, by the word moment itself, it means that whatever it's happening in the moment, whatever that is happening very trendingly, people and brands talk about it. Right? Very simple logic. Why do people talk about things that is very frequent or something? Really, reason is that audience are engaged in those conversations. That is why brands also actively engage themselves into those conversations so that the users can recall them, right? Can recall the brands as well, right? So moment marketing is that. Now, Twitter is something that really helps you with a lot, right? So possibly you might have seen Zomato, Swiggy tweeting on that, right? So that is one of the cases. Topical marketing. Topical marketing is something like any event that is coming up. For example, Mother's Day came up, right? Or any sort of trending topic in memes discussions happening for a very long time, right? So that is what a topical marketing. But usually it's like the fixed events that you know that is going to come and you create your advertisements around that. Some of the examples that you can look possibly here is, if you remember the javelin, right? So Jalwa and javelin, that is something that Amul created. Now, what is this? This is moment marketing example, right? This is a topical marketing example. Mom is where the heart is. Possibly a Mother's Day post, right? And since we are on the topic of Amul, I would highly suggest that go through the social media of Amul because it very creatively portrays the marketing styles, right? So just go through it. You're going to love it. Then if I talk about behavioral marketing, right? So behavioral marketing, or let's say you can say it as relatable marketing as well, right? So usually it talks about something that you could possibly relate to, something that is very personalized, right? Something that you would understand a joke of as well, right? So here is an example. For example, you can see that there is Blinkit, Zomato and Netflix fighting for its fair share into the market, right? And they have put up a posters over there, like for example, the Blinkit put doodh mangoge to doodh denge, and then Zomato said that kheer mangoge to kheer denge, and he said Friday mangoge to Wednesday denge, right? So that is something that how it was working out. So how beautifully they have planned out their marketing, right? And everything is relatable to an individual, right? So that is a behavioral marketing. If I talk about user generated content, it's the content that you guys create, it's the content that I would create, it's the content that any person who is using a particular brand product would create, right? Now what happens, let's say if you consume something, let's say I really like a face wash, right? Or let's say I really like a shampoo, right? So what I would say, possibly I'll talk about it on my platform, right? Possibly on my Instagram story, possibly I might tag that brand as well. When that brand gets tagged by me, that particular content becomes a user generated content for that brand, right? Now they have the leeway of actually reposting it as well. Now imagine if they repost it, the trust get built, right? There are big brands who does not post it, but there are very small brands who really appreciate the post that you posted, and they do post it. Why do they do that? So that the people who are following them can also know that there are people who are consuming their product, and also to build credibility in the market, right? So that is what a user generated content is. Then comes influencer marketing, where you take help of celebrities, where you take help of popular, influencer to actually help you out with influencer marketing, right? So there you try to promote your products through that. All right. So these are different types of marketing that happens. One more marketing that I did not mention over here was surrogate marketing. So for example, if you talk about cigarettes, right? Now it's banned to actually talk about cigarettes very directly in nature, right? So you use different kind of terms for that, right? So that is basically what a surrogate marketing is. Now, if I move towards something like, why would somebody follow you or why would somebody not follow you? Now, it's very simple reason. You would follow a person or you would follow a particular brand if you find their content very valuable. If not valuable in terms of, let's say, information, you need to find it entertaining enough to actually look at it daily and daily, right? So some sort of value has to be provided from the brand side in order for you to follow them, right? Secondly, I don't think anybody out there would follow a brand that is fraud, right? Everybody appreciates honesty. Everybody appreciates authentic communication, right? So we will be looking at that aspects of it as well. That as a brand, how do you communicate? As a brand, what are your values? What are your ethics and morals are as well, right? And then comes the brand of engagement, right? So let's say you follow a brand, but that brand doesn't do anything to engage with you, right? It's like a dead account that is there. How long would you stay in that dead account, right? Possibly not for a very long time, right? So you have to make sure that your content is valuable. It should be authentic enough. And also you should be able to create an engagement with your followers. If I talk about why would you unfollow a particular brand, it's because you might not find that content valuable, right? Or possibly you might use a term very salesy in nature, right? Usually we try to avoid those things. We don't like it when somebody actively sells things to us, right? Indirectly, if they sell it, possibly you'll go just buy it. But if directly somebody comes and sells something to you, we don't like it, right? So if there is over promotion or, there is lack of value, you might not like that. Also, the kind of quality of content they're posting, or are they even being consistent with their schedule or not? If they promised you one thing, did they show up with that commitment or not? That is something that also you look up to. Right? So whatever that I'm saying, follow and unfollow, that you have to make sure as a social media marketer that you are implementing into your business and avoiding certain things which are not acceptable or not considered as hygienic for a business, right? Now, there are some popular platforms that we're going to look into, right? And we're going to look what is the strength of those particular platforms, what exactly work on those platforms before we possibly learn about running an ad or algorithm in there, right? So first one is Facebook. Now, I think many of you possibly might not be on Facebook because I think it's an old app for you, but trust me, if you want to run an advertisement, if you want to really run a very good advertisement, Facebook is the best place to be, right? The strengths of Facebook is that it gives you a very broad range of audience and community, right? So it's really help you with the community building part of it, right? So whenever you are you're engaged with a particular work that involves huge community building, right? Facebook should be your go-to option. Or let's say whenever your motto is to run advertisement, that is when Facebook is something that you should be going out for, right? Then comes Instagram. So Instagram is something which is very visually appealing, right? Where people come and share their stories, where people talk about, what are they doing currently? There's like a daily update, but very aesthetic in a way, right? So usually if you are into, let's say, lifestyle blogging, or let's say if you're into influencer marketing or fashion, right? Even these days, finance is also coming into the picture. People really appreciate those kind of content. But what they're looking for is something really extra in it. That are you able to explain me a very difficult thing into a very simpler terms through storytelling or not, right? That is something that is also popping on Instagram, right? If I talk about X, which was Twitter previously, sorry for that error. So the strength of the Twitter is that it's very real time. Whatever that is happening right now, you would possibly go and find on Twitter. It's a very hot news platform that you could find. And it's perfect for moment marketing. Usually you see very active brand like Swiggy, Zomato constantly commenting and putting up a quirky post on Twitter, or possibly talking about what's happening in the news. I know that Amul is very vocal about his political opinions, what's happening in the nation, right? So Twitter actually helps your brand stay awake with the current trendy topics. Right? If I talk about LinkedIn, so LinkedIn is something that helps you with professional networking and B2B marketing, right? And it is best for that if you want to communicate a very leadership message to somebody or business related message to somebody. Very professional in nature is something that LinkedIn looks out for. And whenever you post on LinkedIn or whenever you post authentic content on LinkedIn, your credibility also increases with time on that, right? Now, TikTok, it's banned in India, but obviously if you're working with a foreign client, it's a major source of revenue for them, right? It's a very popular platform for the foreign countries. And if you are working in an agency, you might come across those people and those platforms as well. So you have to be aware about a little that, TikTok still exists, and if you can find a ways to actually learn about it, it would be really great, right? But possible strength of TikTok is just very creative in nature. A lot of younger audiences are there. A lot of viral content goes into that picture. All right. Now let's move towards the essentials of social media marketing. I talked about 3 components, which is very important, right? But apart from those 3 components, there are very essential things also that you have to take care of. Otherwise, your game of social media is fully gone, right? First thing is identifying a very right audience, right? Who would you create a content for on social media if you're not aware about who your audience is, right? So it's very important that you educate yourself about who exactly is your audience. Now, when I say who exactly is your audience, is possibly if you're creating content for yourself on social media, it's for you. Or if you're trying to create a content for your client, then it's for them, right? Then it's about creating a content. Now, not just creating a content would work, but creating an engaging content would work. You have an audience who can engage with your content, so you better make that content if you want to boost up, right? Otherwise, posting a content just for a mere sake of it would not lead you anywhere, All right. Then the third comes is that what is the effective strategies that you're applying after you have posted a very engaging content? What is aftermath of it, right? What are the things that you are doing to possibly get more shares on that, right? What is the thing activity that you're doing to network on that, right? Then comes engagement and community building. So that is something that social media helps you with a lot, right? Social media gives you a community which not just supports you but also gives you a real-time feedback about your content. Previously, what used to happen was you bring a product into the market, you wait for people to give feedback, you do surveys for those feedback. But with social media, things are very different now. You sell something, people want to slide into a DM and message if your product is good, if the product is not good, right? Even a story, interactive story could also work into your favor. All right. After you have done all those processes up, identified your audience, went on for content, shared the content as well, engagement, everything is done. How would you tell to your client that this is working out and this is not working out, right? There has to be a number, there has to be a metrics, right? So what you're going to be doing at the end of the course is that you're going to tell them about the metrics, you're going to tell them about the numbers, right? And those numbers are pre-planned from your mind itself, right? That this is the number that I want to reach, and to reach that number, you're planning all these things out. All right. Now let's move towards defining a goal. When somebody hires you as a social media marketer, look, what is the possible reason they could hire you as a social media marketer? Nobody would hire you because they want their Instagram to look good, right? Would they? Right? They would not. So there might be a good amount of revenue that is coming into the picture, right? Otherwise, they would not spend a little bit of money on you, right? So first thing is brand awareness. Either the company who are starting from the scratch, what they are looking out for is not the profit. They are looking out for is that people know our company or not. And trust me, to go to individuals like places and promote your company, physically it's very difficult. But on a platform where 2.9 billion users are already actively using those platforms and every sort of audience is there. Whenever we do a market research, when we do audience analysis, different groups we categorize our audiences into. And all the possible groups are consuming social media, right? If somebody is not there on Instagram, somebody might be on LinkedIn. Right? So they want to make sure that if a lot of people are there, they take full advantage of it and make people aware about the brands, right? So the first goal is basically brand awareness, right? The second goal is, if you, let's say a person has shopped something from your place, right? Now you would like to retain to that particular customer. Then how would you do that? Then some engagement strategy is something that you should be looking out for, right? So customer engagement is something that helps you with it. Also community building. Sometimes you need a huge community support to work things out, right? So that, it could help you further into your business as well. So social media helps you with that. All right. Then comes lead generation and sales conversion. Both goes hand in hand. If you put a very good amount of content on social media, if it is working really well and fine for you, right? Possibly might be happening that there are a lot of leads that will come into the picture, right? Who is going to help you get more profits and revenues. So first a lead will come into the picture, then you will put more content that will actually try to convert those leads, right? And then your sales conversion will happen, right? So nobody hires you because they want a pretty looking picture. That is the goal. This is the particular goal that they are trying to achieve, is that they want brand awareness. Why do they brand awareness? Because they want profits. Why do they brand community engagement? Because it also brings them profit, right? Sales conversion, lead generation obviously will bring them profit. The reason you're hired for is so that you can generate profit for their business. Right? So don't worry, you're going to learn on sales as well. Then if I move further into it, I talked about goals, but is only setting a goals is going to help you with that, or you should be setting some different sort of a goal, right? So that is when a smart goal comes into picture. There are certain aspects of those smart goals. You might have heard about it various and multiple times in your schools possibly. If not, I'll educate you on that. So first one is very specific in nature. You have to be very specific as to what is the goal you want to achieve, right? Here you saw 4 different kinds of goal, and trust me, with 4 different kinds of goal, there is a different marketing that happens altogether, right? Though few of the contents might be similar, but there are high chances that the way you will be interacting with your audience will be very different, right? So that is when you should be very, very clear on what is the specific goal you would like to achieve. Okay. Second is measurable goal. You cannot just be dependent upon qualitative, right? What you focus on is quantitative over here, right? So it should be measurable enough to actually work out. Then comes achievable goal. Now, if let's say you're starting just from scratch from zero and you're imagining 1 million followers in 1 month, it's not doable, right? So having a very realistic goal is going to help you out with it. And also when you are interacting with your clients as well, you have to give them certain expectations, right? You have to promise them something, right? So it's better that you give them an achievable goal, because at the end you have to submit a report to them, right? So that is something that you should be looking out for, that your goal should be very specific, measurable and achievable. Also, 4th and 5th point is very, very crucial, is that is it relevant with the current scenario or not, and what is the time frame that you have gotten to achieve that particular goal, right? For example, at the time of COVID, but every business was, going on losses and everything, their main motto was not to generate profits, very honestly. All the business was shut down and everything was, now their main motto was to survive in the market. Profits was the last thing that was in the picture, right? So it should be relevant also, right? So you should be very clear on the goals as well, and forget about the profits and forget about the survival as well. For some business, they just wanted to stay in the mind of people because they knew at the end of the day, COVID will end, right? And they want to retain those customers back, and 2 years is a very long time. The person might forget a brand as well, right? So that is what their focus and goal was, okay? And time-bound activity, it helps you with better planning and implementation. It helps you with better tracking of your goals as well. All right. Then there are different frameworks. This we particularly my professors told about me in my MBA lectures. So there are three kind of medias that a particular brand have, right? So the first is an owned media. Owned media is something that the particular brands already have a control over. For example, the website, the social media accounts, the blogs, right? Anything in name of that would be considered as owned media. All right. So if I give you an example of Nike, all the campaigns and all the posts that it makes related to social media and everything on Just Do It, that is what owned media for Nike is. All right. Now paid media is something where the brand is paying to someone, some external sources, to possibly run an ad for them, or to possibly, just give their brands a little push, right? So here, if I take an example of Nike again, all the sponsorships that they do, all the sponsor posts done by celebrities and everything, that is something that comes into paid media. All right. Then earned media is something that you generate through the value that you give out to people. It could be something like, you can just say that it's a user generated content. You delivered a value to a person, they appreciated that value, and you basically, what happened was you earned a particular customer, you earned that media. So they might have shared it, they might have mentioned you somewhere. That's a source of earned media over here, right? Here I've given you an user generated content example also of same brand Nike, right? So usually during events, during any sport events, those are the brands that get high amount of mentions. All right. Now, before we jump into anything further now, it's very important for you to understand the importance of choosing a right platform for your brand, right? Because every brand is very different. For example, at the very back, you learned about certain strengths of a brand and certain weaknesses of a brand and what exactly are they famous for, right? So before somebody comes to you about that, hey, I want to do a social media marketing campaign with you, or let's say when you are starting your own venture as well, right? Don't go all out to all the brands. It's not important, it's not necessary, it's not compulsory. I do understand that if you go to a multiple platform, there might be higher audience and everything, but do you want a higher audience, or do you want a relevant, more targeted, specific audience who is actually going to see your product, and chances are high that they might end up buying that, right? Possibly the second case with you later, right? So it's very important that you choose a very right platform, right? Now, how would you decide on a right platform? There are certain factors that you need to keep in picture. You imagine your product, you imagine your service. Imagine who exactly is the target audience, where exactly is the time, spend the maximum amount of time at. For example, if I am selling a course usually for people in their, let's say, 30s or 40s, I cannot expect, and I'm selling a professional course to them, let's say of a particular course itself that is going to help them enhance their career in retirement, or let's say 50s, right? Now, I know for sure that fact that I cannot be running ads on Instagram regarding this, because a 30-40-year-old on Instagram might not be there much. They might be there are people, but if I look at the overall cost also that comes with running an advertisement and everything, it's going to be very, very high for me, right? So what I will be going for is that I might go for LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the most active platform around those age groups, right? So first you have to decide according to your audience that, and according to your product, that where exactly would they be there, which platform would they most be active in. All right. Then if I move towards content style, now there's a thing which is called mirror and match. Every brand try to does that, especially the brands which are, let's say food brands, beverages brands, they try to do it. They try to create relatable content to you, right? The reason they do that is because so that you feel a sense of belongingness with that particular brand and might end up buying something with that brand, right? So content style here is basically frequency, or what is the kind of visual they want, what is the kind of pictures are they looking for, right? So let's say you get into social media, you get into other sources, but you are not good with these things, right? Then there is no point of it. Okay. Then comes the marketing goal. So what exactly is the goal? What is exactly the goal of that particular person? Do they want to have conversations? Do they want to have engagements? Do they want to have arrangements? What is the case with them, right? So accordingly, you're going to set your marketing goals, and based on that marketing goals, you're going to set up your Instagram platforms. That this is where I would like to go. So let's say again, the picture comes into the mind. If you want more comments onto your post, more, very high qualitative content that you want over there, right? Then you should probably go on LinkedIn and post something if you are looking for that high amount of captions and numbers. Okay. Then comes consistency and content strategy. After you are very clear on these three things, that who exactly your target audience is, what is the content style that you have, what is the marketing goals that you have to be very clear on the three aspects of it, which is content calendar. So what you will try to do is that you will try to create all the possible posts in way in advance, right? That this is something that you will be using out for. Now when I talk about content calendar, there's another thing that comes into my mind. You will be learning actually very realistically that how do you create a content just within a frame of 3 days, and now after AI just within 30 seconds, or let's say at least let's take 5 minutes, right? So how would you create that content up, right? That is something that we're going to be exploring here. And then comes the competitive mix. So when you talk about, there comes a content mix and then the competitor mix. So what is the kind of mix ratios that your competitors are using, and what is something that you are using? As a social media platform, are you just posting a picture, or is it a video, something that you're also posting? Is it an interactive story that you're posting, or it's a very static post that you're posting up, right? So that is also we have to be very aware on. Thirdly is basically platform, right? So very specific content you have to post on those platforms, because again, if you let's say put out a picture of a particular brand, right, that is a little controversial in nature, it's going to backfire on you, right? So it's better that you try to avoid that, right? So platform specific content is something that is going to help you really a lot here. So yeah, all right guys, this is it for the day 1. I'm going to see you in the next class. Till then, stay tuned.